Okay, let's go.
Hey everyone, this is Steve from Natural Selection Angling, and this is another installment of our Reel Service series. And today we're going to be operating on this Daiwa SG57LC3B. It's a level wind Linecounter reel, and my client has it spooled with 125 feet of copper line. So let's get to it. We're going to take it apart by starting with the keeper. Take out this little machine screw, and then we'll be able to remove the handle. I don't have the right wrench here. It wasn't an 11, it wasn't a 12, it wasn't a 13, and it wasn't a 1/2 inch. So I just used a paper towel and the pliers to break the nut, and we'll just take it off by hand. Okay, take the handle right off. That looks good. Well, just start taking the hardware off. First you see there's a spacer. Then we'll take the drag wheel off just by backing it off the threads. This drag wheel doesn't click, so there's no other hardware to deal with here. We'll just take it apart. Okay, now we'll take these washers off, and you're going to find 2 bent washers that are spacers, and then you'll find another bronze spacer. We'll just take a look in here under the spool tensioner knob cap. Everything looks good there. Just put the cap on for now. Okay, let's take this case apart. I'm going to start with that screw because that one's different. So you'll see one of them is a pan head type screw and the others are countersinks with little plastic collars on them. Now we can take the drive side of the reel right off. Okay, I've never done one of these reels before, so I'm just going to slowly work through it. But it's very similar to Shimano architecture inside. It shares a lot of the same mechanical arrangements. All right, this looks good. We'll just set this aside for now. Okay, so continuing down the drive shaft here, we now have the bearings and another little spacer washer. Okay, just be aware of this little spring here. Don't let it fly across the room. This is your anti-reverse dog spring, and that keeps the dog loaded. We'll take these springs off the posts. I will take apart the drag system. Sometimes you have to take these off one at a time because this is a close fit machining here, and it does take a little bit of effort to get these parts off. So this is the top washer, and you'll see it's convex on one side and concave on the other side. And these drag washers look absolutely perfect. I know this reel's been fished before. I've personally caught fish on it, but we don't fish it that much. All right, here you have your tabbed washer. Another drag washer. These are just super clean and perfect condition. Another metal washer. And then your final drag washer from the inside assembly. Sometimes this will just be stuck. A craft knife works. Here you can see I'm just tapping on it a little bit to get it loose, and I'll pop it off. Yep, looks good. Okay, we'll now take the main drive gear off. So pull that right off, and on the back side, you'll see that there is the anti-reverse gear and also a drag washer. Okay, now we'll take out the pinion gear and the yoke. I always like to take a look at the yoke to see if one side is chamfered, because they can be directional. This has a chamfer going both directions, so you can't get it backwards. Don't lose these tiny thrust washers. Pretty simple. Okay, here's the jack. That's a one piece. And here's that anti-reverse pawl or dog and the little spring that loads it. Take that spring out and we'll take the dog out. All right, now we're going to go after it with some degreaser and give it a good cleaning. Okay, once that's all clean, we're going to get the reel oil out and we're going to oil the drive shaft where it passes through the frame. Just turn it a little bit to spread the oil. Okay, let's reassemble. First thing we're going to do is we're going to put the yoke onto the pinion gear and we're going to drop the pinion gear into place, and the yoke is going to go over the plastic posts. Okay, now we have the anti-reverse gear, which I've cleaned. That goes on the square cut at the bottom of the drive shaft. It's the anti-reverse dog. You can see how this works. It's a simple mechanism. And the spring keeps it loaded. You see I'm holding my left forefinger over the post as I stretch the spring. Okay, you're creating a catapult here, a slingshot. So I'm just going to make sure that if I lose my grip on it, it doesn't go flying. Okay, that's in place. Looks good. Now, the smallest drag washer. That goes on first. And then the main drive gear. Now, the smallest drag washer I have greased because it sits between two pieces of metal. And now we'll just go ahead and load up these dry drag washers. This reel is used in freshwater only. It doesn't require any grease. If you're fishing saltwater, we recommend that you use grease. Okay, so we're just going to put these back on in the same way we got them off. And when we get to this tabbed washer, we're just going to put the tabbed washer down and make sure the tabs align with the little cutouts in the gear. Another drag washer. Okay, now the last one, again, it's concave on one side, convex on the other. You want the concave side facing down. Okay, that looks good. Now moving on to the jack, we'll give that a good cleaning, get all the old grease off, and then we'll re-grease everywhere where the jack touches the frame or other components. Make sure that it slides well. So we'll put a little grease underneath the arms, over top of the arms, and then these little bump outs here are what lift the yoke and disengage the drive gear or the pinion gear. So those should be greased too. And before we button it up, we'll also go ahead and grease the pinion gear and the main gear. Okay, no problem. Goes right in. Simple. Okay, now we'll put these springs on. Okay, I have put those thrust washers back on as well. All right, that's nice and greased. Okay, next we're going to put this flat washer on. Then we're going to put the bearing on top of that, but it looks like it's a little sticky with old grease on it. So we'll give that a quick degreasing and hit it with the toothbrush. That's looking nice and clean now. Okay, we'll reinstall that onto the shaft. And we will apply some oil to the bearings. Yeah, it's spinning good now. Okay, so next up is this other little brass washer. And we'll sit that on top of the bearings, and we're just going to stop right there for a second, and we'll apply this grease to the plastic components here that we previously cleaned. We'll take off this tensioner knob, and we're going to use that little aperture in there to line up with the tip of the spool, and that just helps us put the thing together in good alignment so we don't have to wrestle with it. And now I'm just going to pinch it closed with my non-dominant hand while I put it together with my other hand. Okay, so this is the one different screw. This is the pan head, and I'm just going to install this screw, and that'll be enough to pin the reel together so I can let go of it and work on the rest. All right, that'll do it. It won't fly apart now. Put the beauty cover on, the little bezel, and we'll put the screws in. Don't forget the little plastic spacers under the countersink screws. Now we have our bent washers, our spacers, tensioners. There's two of those. We'll drop them back on the shaft. All right, here's the drag wheel, and we'll give that a good cleaning and inspection. Looks good. Notice there's no clicker mechanism or anything on this. Okay, that's good. You really want to tighten the drag down before you install the handle so that you don't get any interference. Then on top of the drag wheel, it gets that thick spacer, and the handle goes on top of that. Just give this a good cleaning and get that junk off it. And then we'll go ahead and install the handle. Okay, we'll install the nut. And once this gets to the bottom here, I'm just going to use a towel to help me grip it and tighten it by hand. And put the keeper in. Okay, now let's do an inspection and make sure that everything's working correctly before we move on to the other side of the reel and take that apart. Okay, this is the spool tensioner knob here, and I'm just going to grease it a little bit where the tip of the spool touches. And I like to grease these threads too, just to keep water and dirt out of there. There's an O-ring at the bottom of the threads on the male side of this. Just inspect that O-ring and make sure that it's not rotten or broken. And then we can go ahead and reinstall the tensioner knob. All right, good. Now we can take apart the other side. And these are 3 countersunk screws that have the little plastic bonnets on them too, so just take those out. And pop that cover right off, and you can see it's very clean and neat in there. This is the simple side. And we'll pull that spool out and deal with this leader. We cut that off and then just tape up the copper line. And we'll give a good cleaning here on this gear. Give it a wipe down, but this looks pretty good now. Okay, other side of the spool. We'll just clean this shaft, and then I'm going to go ahead and grease everything and oil the bearing. This is the most important bearing as far as spool rotation is concerned, and that thing looks pretty good. All right, let's grease the gears. Grease the tip of the spool. Grease the other side of the spool. Now let's take this cover and give it a good cleaning before we put it all back together. And we'll grease those gears. We're going to oil this bearing. Just spreading the oil with the tip of the tweezers and turning the bearing to work it in. That's in good shape. Okay, I do like to put a little bit of grease on the clicker. It's not necessary, but anywhere where there's metal on metal contact like that, I like to put a little grease. And we'll just clean these gears on the frame. We're going to oil the other side of the drive shaft where it pokes into the frame. And just turn the handle to work that oil in. Get some grease on this gear and drop the spool in. For some reason I cut out cleaning the worm gear, but you're going to clean the worm gear and grease the worm gear too. Okay, the long side of the shaft drops into the drive side of the reel. That's no problem, looking good. Now before we button it up, we're going to take care of the reel timing. So I'm just going to thread the metal line through the level wind eye. And I'm going to strip off enough line so that the line is coming off the spool like it was laid down by the level wind, right? So I'm going to move the level wind eye all the way to the stop and then back it off slightly. And I'm just going to pull on the line until the line runs all the way to the end of the spool and then comes back the other way just a hair. At that point, I'm going to go ahead and put the cover on. And to make the gears mesh, I'm just going to knock the handle. put a little drag on there or it won't turn. Okay, that's it. Now the gears are meshed, everything's working. I'm going to make sure that I keep the timing intact and keep the reel pinched together. And I'll go ahead and install this bezel and put the screws in. Don't forget the little plastic bonnets. Now we'll get this baby buttoned up. We're in the home stretch here, guys. I'm just going to wind the line back up on the spool, keeping some tension on it with my fingers, and do final checks and oiling of the handle knob, the clicker button, and the transmission lever. Now I'm going to put a leader on this, but for now I'm just going to snap a swivel to it so that it can't lose its timing. And I'll just wind up the slack. All right, now this reel's in perfect timing. It's ready to be mounted on a rod and have a leader attached.
Let's go.
So that's it. Pretty simple job. And I'm really glad to be with you today. And I'm happy you were here with me. Thanks for watching, and please like and subscribe.